The sky above the alien world was burning with red streaks. A small silver ship fell fast through the clouds, smoke trailing behind it. Inside the ship, a human soldier named Tom fought with the controls. Alarms screamed, lights flashed, and the metal body shook like it was about to break apart. He had no choice but to crash. He took a deep breath and held tight. The ship slammed into the thick forest below. Trees cracked. Branches tore through the air, and metal crunched as the ship slid across the ground. Then everything went still. Smoke rose from the wreck, and sparks popped from the broken parts. Tom opened his eyes. His body ached. He had a deep cut on his arm, and his helmet was cracked. But he was alive. He kicked open the damaged door and stepped out. The forest around him was dense and full of strange plants. The sky above was dark purple, and moons were rising slowly. He checked his gear. The radio was broken. No signal, no way to call his team. He was alone on this strange planet called Scifi. The last he knew, this planet was full of danger. A war had happened here between alien tribes, and humans were told to stay away. But his mission had been to check a signal from this place. Now he was stuck. Tom moved carefully, staying low and silent. He didn't know if someone or something would come searching for him. He needed to find shelter, food, and water. He walked for hours through the thick forest. Strange bird-like creatures flew overhead. Some glowing bugs danced in the air. The ground was soft and damp. As night came, the forest grew quiet to quiet. Tom found a small cave under a hill and crawled inside. It was cold and dark, but safe. Enough for now. He sat down, leaned against the wall, and closed his eyes to rest. But then he heard something, a soft cry, like a child. His eyes opened wide. He thought he imagined it, but the sound came again, a small sob, not far from the cave. Tom grabbed his light and stepped outside. The sound led him to a large tree with thick roots spreading across the ground. The cry was coming from beneath it. He crouched down and slowly pushed aside the leaves. There, hidden between the roots, was a little girl. She had smooth blue skin, silver hair, and big glowing eyes. She looked scared and dirty. Her clothes were torn. She was shaking and holding her knees tight. When she saw Tom, she tried to back away, but she was too weak. Tom raised both hands slowly to show he meant no harm. "It's okay," he said softly. Even though he knew she wouldn't understand, the girl stared at him, unsure. Tom took out his water bottle and gently placed it near her. She looked at it, then at him, then crawled forward and grabbed it. She drank quickly, as if she hadn't had water in days. Then she looked back at him with wide eyes. He sat down on the ground, a few feet away, not moving too fast. She seemed calmer now. "What's your name?" Tom asked, even though he knew she wouldn't answer. She hugged the bottle and whispered something. It sounded like Lena. Tom repeated it. "Lena?" She nodded. So her name was Lena. Tom looked around. This girl was clearly not just lost. She was alone, in the middle of a dangerous forest, and hiding. That meant someone might be looking for her, or worse, someone might be chasing her. He knew he couldn't leave her here. No matter who she was just a child, and she needed help. Tom held out his hand. Lena looked at it for a long time. Then slowly, carefully, she reached out and touched it. Her fingers were cold. He smiled gently and helped her stand. She was very light and weak. She could barely walk, so he picked her up and carried her back to the cave. Inside, he wrapped her in a thermal blanket and gave her a piece of dried fruit from his pack. She ate slowly, watching him closely. Tom watched her too. Her eyes were full of sadness. He could tell she had been through something terrible, but she was brave. Later that night, as the stars filled the sky and the forest stayed quiet, Tom kept watch at the cave entrance. He didn't sleep. He couldn't. He had to protect her now. Then, in the distance, he saw red lights. Small flying machines were scanning the forest, patrol drones, and they were coming this way. He turned back to look at Lena. She was asleep, her hand clutching his jacket. Tom stood up, grabbed his gear, and whispered, "Time to go." He picked her up gently and left the cave. They had to move fast before the drones found them. He didn't know who Lena really was. He didn't know where to go yet. But one thing was clear. She was now his mission, and he would do whatever it took to keep her safe. Tom moved quickly through the trees, holding Lena close. The forest floor was soft and slippery, but he kept his steps steady. Behind him, the red lights of the patrol drones moved between the trees. They were searching for something, maybe the crash site, maybe him, or maybe they were searching for the girl in his arms. Lena stayed quiet, her small arms wrapped tightly around his neck. Her head rested on his shoulder. She didn't cry. She didn't speak, but her body trembled. Tom could feel it. He reached a small river and stopped to rest for a moment. The drones were far behind now. He knelt near the water and let Lena drink. She looked up at him, her silver hair sticking to her cheeks. Her eyes were full of questions, but she still didn't speak. Tom gave her a soft smile. "You're doing great," he said gently. She didn't understand the words, but his voice was calm, and that made her feel safe. They followed the river upstream, hoping to find a safer place. The sun rose slowly over the treetops, casting golden light on the water. Strange animal calls echoed in the distance. A group of glowing insects flew past, lighting the path like tiny floating stars. By midday, they reached a rocky area with tall cliffs and caves hidden in the stone walls. Tom chose a cave with a narrow entrance and plenty of cover. He set Lena down and began to prepare a small camp. He placed a heat pad under a blanket to keep her warm and broke open some food packs. As they ate, Lena kept her eyes on him. She copied his movements, taking small bites, drinking slowly. When he smiled, she smiled too. After the meal, Tom took out a small notepad from his bag. He drew a stick figure and pointed to himself. "Tom," he said. Then he pointed to the drawing. Lena watched. After a moment, she pointed to him and said softly, "Tom." He smiled and nodded. He drew a smaller figure with big eyes and silver hair. Then he pointed to her. She hesitated, then placed her hand on her chest. "Lena." Tom smiled wider. "Lena," he repeated. That was the beginning. Each day, they traveled a little more. They moved at night to avoid drones and rested during the day. Tom taught her simple words using pictures. He drew trees, food, water, animals, and even a sun and moon. She learned fast. She pointed to things and repeated the words in her soft voice. They found fruit trees and a small waterfall. Tom helped her wash and clean up. Her blue skin was marked with old bruises, but she never complained. She was strong for her age, brave. One night, as they rested under a large tree, Lena surprised him by handing him a small flower she had picked. It was bright blue and smelled sweet. Tom took it gently and smiled. "Thank you." Lena looked at the stars above and pointed to the sky. "Home?" she asked. Tom looked up too. He knew she was asking where his home was. He pointed to one of the stars and nodded. Then he pointed to her. "Where's your home?" Lena looked down. Her smile faded. She hugged her knees and stayed quiet. Tom didn't ask again. Far away, in a large floating city above the clouds of Scifi, a tall alien woman stood at a balcony. Her long silver dress blew in the wind. Her name was Mira, princess of Scifi's western land. She looked down at the shining towers of her city, but her eyes were full of sadness. It had been 3 years since she lost her daughter during a rebel attack. No one had found her body. No one knew where she went. Many believed she had died. But Mira had never stopped hoping. Her loyal guard, Rollo, stepped beside her. "Your Highness," he said, bowing, "we received a message from the border scouts. A human was seen near the forest caves. He was not part of any known group." Mira turned quickly. "Alone?" Rollo nodded. "And he had a child with him, a young girl with silver hair." Mira's heart skipped a beat. She grabbed Rollo's arm. "Was it her? Was it Lena? We don't know yet. The scouts only saw them from far away, but we sent a team to search the area." Mira stepped back, her hands shaking. "If it is her, I want her brought home safely. No harm must come to the human either. He may have saved her." Yes, princess. Back in the forest, Tom and Lena sat by a small fire deep in another cave. The sound of rain echoed outside. Lena lay curled up next to him, her head resting on his side. He kept one arm around her. He could feel the bond between them growing stronger. He had known her only for a few days, but he felt like he had known her forever. Her trust in him was pure. She followed him without fear. She smiled when he smiled. She copied his every move. She had no one else, and now neither did he. Tom had lost his squad. His mission was over. His ship was broken. No one was coming. But somehow, he felt like he had found something more important than any mission. He had found her, and no matter what happened next, he would protect her. He looked down at the little girl beside him and whispered, "I promise, Lena." Half asleep, held his hand tighter. Outside, the wind blew gently through the trees. The forest was calm, but trouble was already on its way. The forest felt strange that morning. The birds were quiet. The wind was still. Tom noticed it right away. He crouched near the edge of a cliff, his eyes scanning the trees. Lena sat behind him, quietly drawing shapes in the dirt with a stick. Tom's fingers tightened around his small scanner. It had a weak battery, but it still worked for short range. He tapped a button. A soft beep came from the screen. Several moving dots appeared. "Too many drones," he said softly. Lena looked up. Tom knelt beside her. "We have to move." She didn't ask why. She stood and grabbed his hand. Tom led her through the forest. They stayed low and avoided open paths. But something felt wrong. The drones weren't just passing through, they were circling, closing in. Tom stopped behind a fallen tree. He pulled out a signal beacon from his backpack. It was old, made for emergencies. It could send a signal far into space. Maybe someone on his side would hear it. He pressed the button. A small red light blinked. The signal was sent. But what he didn't know was that the signal was picked up by more than just his people. Far away in the eastern part of Scifi, a tall alien general named Zark stood inside a dark control room. His face was sharp and cold. His eyes were fixed on the screen showing the signal's location. His officer walked up beside him. It came from the forest cliffs near the west. Zark narrowed his eyes. "That's the same area where the girl was lost. Do you think it's her?" Zark turned away from the screen. "It must be. We searched for years, and now a human appears with a child in that very place. What should we do?" Zark gave a cold smile. "Send the hunters. Bring her back, and capture the human alive." Back in the Western Palace, Rollo rushed into Mira's hall. His armor was dusty, and his face was tense. "Princess," he said. The signal came again. The same one the scouts followed before. "It is strong this time." Mira stood. "Is it him?" "Yes." "And we saw something else?" "Heat signs of a second being, smaller. Likely a child." Mira's heart beat faster. "It's her. I know it's her. Prepare the flyers. We leave now." "Yes, princess." In the forest, Tom found a cave in the side of the cliff. It was narrow, but deep enough to hide them. He and Lena crawled inside. He covered the entrance with branches. Inside, Lena sat on the ground, hugging her knees. She looked tired and afraid. Tom sat beside her and gave her some water. "We'll be okay," he said. Lena didn't smile. She pointed to her ear and made a buzzing sound. Tom listened. He heard it too. The soft hum of engines, then the sound of boots on the ground, voices. They were close. He looked at Lena. "Stay here." He moved toward the entrance and peeked through the branches. 3 tall figures in black armor stood near the cave. They were not Mira's soldiers. These were Zark's hunters. They had red eyes built into their helmets and sharp weapons on their backs. One of them turned. "This way. I hear something." Tom pulled back. He looked around the cave. There was no other exit. He grabbed his small blaster. It had only a few shots left. Not enough to fight all 3. He turned to Lena and placed his hand on her cheek. "Listen. If I say run, you run. Understand?" Lena's eyes filled with fear, but she nodded. The hunters entered the cave. One of them spotted Tom and shouted. The others raised their weapons. Tom fired first. A bright flash lit the cave. One hunter fell. The other to move fast. Tom fired again. Another flash. The second hunter stumbled but didn't fall. Then they were too close. Tom fought hard. He punched and kicked. He blocked their attacks as best he could. One of them knocked his blaster away. The other hit him hard in the side. He fell back against the cave wall. Lena screamed. One hunter grabbed her. She kicked and tried to escape, but he held her tight. Tom got back on his feet. Breathing hard, he looked at Lena. Her eyes were wide with fear, but then she shouted something, a single word. Mom, the cave went silent for a moment. Outside, a new sound came. A fast ship flew overhead and landed near the cave. A group of soldiers in silver armor rushed in. They were Mira's guards. Rollo led the charge. He saw the black armor hunters and fired without warning. One hunter fell. The other tried to run but was caught. Mira stepped into the cave. Her heart pounded. She looked around, and then she saw her Lena. The little girl turned and stared at her. Mom, Lena said again. Mira dropped her weapon and ran forward. She fell to her knees and pulled Lena into her arms. Tears fell down her face. My child, she whispered, holding her close. Lena clung to her, crying softly. Tom leaned back against the cave wall. His body ached, his vision blurred. But he smiled. Rollo looked at him with surprise. You saved her. Tom nodded slowly. She saved me too. Mira turned to him. Her face was full of emotion. Who are you? She asked softly. Tom, he said, then passed out. Mira stood, holding Lena in one arm. She looked at Tom and gave a small nod. Bring him with us, she said. He is not our enemy. Outside, the sky was brighter. The forest was calm again. But everything had changed. Lena was going home. And the man who saved her had just stepped into a story far bigger than he ever expected. The royal ship flew quickly over the green lands of Scifi. Inside, Tom lay on a bed, still unconscious. A medical device beeped beside him, checking his heartbeat. His arm and chest were bandaged. The fight in the cave had left him bruised and weak. Mira sat beside her daughter, holding her hand. Lena had fallen asleep, her head resting on her mother's lap. Mira ran her fingers through Lena's silver hair, still trying to believe she was real. Her little girl was alive. After 3 long years of searching, crying, and hoping, she was back. Rollo stood near the front of the ship, talking with the other guards. He risked his life. Rollo said he fought off Zark's hunters alone. The other guards listened, but looked unsure. He is still human, one of them said. We do not know why he was here. He could be a spy, another added. Rollo shook his head. Lena cried out for him. She trusted him. That means something. The ship reached the capital city and landed on the highest platform. A group of healers rushed out to carry Tom inside. Mira followed them closely. She had already sent orders. Tom would be treated like a guest, not a prisoner. Inside the palace, Tom was taken to a quiet healing room. The walls glowed soft blue, and the air smelled of flowers. Healers worked quickly to treat his wounds. Mira stood nearby, watching closely. A few hours later, Tom opened his eyes. His body ached, but the pain was less. He turned his head and saw Mira sitting beside him. You are safe, she said gently. Tom blinked, confused for a moment. Then he sat up slowly. Lena? She is fine, Mira said, sleeping in her room. Tom let out a breath of relief. I'm Mira, she said, Princess of Scifi. Lena is my daughter. Tom nodded slowly. I didn't know. I just found her in the forest. She was alone. I couldn't leave her. I know, Mira said. She told me a little. She doesn't speak much, but she said one thing again and again. You saved her. Tom looked down at his hands. I did what anyone would do. No, Mira said. Not everyone would protect a lost child on an alien world. Not everyone would fight trained soldiers to keep her safe. You are not like others. Tom didn't answer. He was tired. Too many things had happened too fast. Olo entered the room. Princess, he said, bowing. Zark's forces are moving again. They are not giving up. Mira stood. What have they done now? They have gathered soldiers near the South Valley. They may try to take Lena again. Tom looked up. He wants her. Why? She is the key to the royal bloodline, Mira said. Some believe that if they control her, they can claim power. Zark wants to rule. He failed before, but he is trying again. Tom sat up straighter. Then let me help. Mira looked at him in surprise. You are wounded. You need rest. I can still fight, Tom said. I know how to set traps. I know how to stop an enemy from getting close. I've done it before. Let me do it again. Mira was silent for a moment. Then she nodded. Very well. You may help. But do not push yourself too hard. The next morning, the palace turned into a place of preparation. Soldiers trained in the yards. Weapons were clean and loaded. Maps were spread across tables. Tom worked with Rollo and the others. He showed them how to use traps from Earth, simple tricks with wires and smoke bombs, ways to confuse and slow down the enemy. The alien guards were impressed. Even those who had doubted him now listened carefully. Lena watched from a balcony. She waved when Tom looked up. He smiled and waved back. As night came, Mira called Tom to the garden. I want to thank you, she said, not just for saving Lena, but for being kind to her. She was only a child when she disappeared. I feared she would grow up alone, afraid. But she came back stronger, braver, because of you. Tom looked at the stars above. She helped me too. I was alone before I found her. She gave me something to protect. Mira placed her hand on his shoulder. Whatever happens tomorrow, know that you are welcome here. The next day, Zark's army came. They moved through the valley, fast and quiet, but they didn't expect what waited for them. Tom's traps worked. Smoke bombs filled the air. Hidden wires tripped their machines. Loud alarms distracted their focus. Then the royal guards attacked. The fight was fierce. Laser blasts lit the sky. Swords clashed in the narrow paths. Tom fought beside Rollo, using speed and surprise. In the middle of the battle, Zark's large warship crashed through the trees. He stepped out, tall and angry, his eyes searching for Lena. He saw Tom and charged toward him. Tom stood ready, but he was tired. Zark struck hard, knocking Tom to the ground. Just before Zark could land another blow, Mira appeared. She blocked his strike and stood in front of Tom. This ends now, she said. They fought, blade against blade. Mira moved fast and sharp. Zark was strong, but he had no heart. She pushed him back, step by step, until he fell. The guards moved in and captured him. The battle was over. Lena ran out into the open, calling for Tom. He limped toward her, smiling through the pain. She hugged him tightly. You're safe, he whispered. She nodded and held onto him even tighter. Mira stood nearby, her sword at her side. Her face was calm now. The danger had passed, for now and Tom, the human who had come from a broken ship, had become more than a soldier. He had become family. The palace was filled with light after the long battle, after the fall of Zark. And after the danger had passed, the people of Scifi could finally breathe again. Banners flew high from the towers. Music played softly in the gardens. Soldiers stood tall but calm. The city was safe. Tom sat on a bench near a small fountain in the palace courtyard. His bandages were fresh. His body still hurt from the fight, but his mind was clear. He looked up at the clear sky and listened to the birds singing nearby. This world was not Earth, but it was beautiful in its own way. Lena ran toward him with a flower crown in her hands. For you, she said, placing it on his head with a proud smile. Tom laughed softly. Thank you, Princess. Lena giggled. You're not a soldier today. You're a king now. Is that so? Tom asked. She nodded with all seriousness. You saved me. That means you're a hero. Tom looked at her. She stood in front of him in a clean dress, her hair brushed, her eyes bright. She didn't look like the scared child he had found in the forest. She looked happy. She looked whole. Mira watched them from a distance. She had seen many things in her life, but this was something different. Her daughter, who had been missing for 3 long years, was finally back in her arms, and the one who brought her home was a human, a stranger, a soldier from a different world. Yet, somehow, he had done what no one else could. She walked toward them slowly. Tom stood when he saw her, but Mira raised a hand. No need, she said gently. Sit. Lena ran to her and hugged her waist. Mom, I'm back. He saved me, she said, smiling up at her mother. Mira's eyes filled with tears again. She bent down and hugged Lena tight. I know, she whispered. I know, my sweet girl. They sat together by the fountain. For a moment, no one spoke. The wind blew gently, and the water flowed softly. I owe you everything, Mira said, turning to Tom. You brought my daughter back. You protected her when no one else could. You gave her hope. Tom shook his head. She gave me hope. I was lost before I found her. Mira looked at him for a long moment. Tell me the truth. What will you do now? Tom looked around. I don't know. My ship is gone. I have no way to return home. You are welcome here, she said. You have proven yourself. Many in the city speak your name with respect. Even the guards who once doubted you now call you one of us. Tom stayed silent for a moment. Thank you. But I don't want power or title. I just want to live in peace. Somewhere quiet, somewhere safe. You can have that, Mira said. Stay in the palace as long as you wish, or live in the gardens or the hills, anywhere you choose. Tom looked at Lena. She was watching a butterfly nearby, her eyes full of wonder. I will stay, he said, as long as she wants me here. Mira smiled. She already sees you as part of our family. I see it too. Later that day, a small gathering was held in the palace hall. The people of Sarava were invited. No speeches were made. No grand show was planned. It was simple. A moment to honor the return of the princess and the man who saved her. Tom stood beside Mira and Lena. He wore clean clothes given by the palace. He felt out of place among the tall alien guests, but no one treated him like an outsider. Rollo stepped forward and spoke for the people. This man, Tom of Earth, came to our world with no plan. He found our lost princess when all others had failed. He fought against those who would harm her. He gave her love, care, and safety. For that, we thank him. The crowd placed their hands to their hearts and bowed. Tom didn't know what to say. He simply nodded. After the gathering, Lena pulled him aside. Can I show you something? She asked. Of course, he replied. She led him through the halls, up a long staircase, and out to a quiet balcony. From there, they could see the city, glowing in the sunset. The lights below twinkled like stars. This is my favorite place, Lena said. I used to come here with my mother. Before everything changed, Tom stood beside her. It's beautiful. I was scared when I was lost, she said softly. I didn't know if I would ever see my mom again. But when you found me, I wasn't scared anymore. Tom looked at her. You were very brave. I wasn't brave alone, she said. You made me feel safe. You made me believe I could go home. Tom felt something tighten in his chest. Thank you for trusting me, Lena smiled. I trust you more than anyone. They stood together in silence, watching the last light fade from the sky. That night, Mira came to Tom's room. She carried a small box. This belonged to Lena's father, she said. He was a good man, strong and kind. You remind me of him. Tom opened the box. Inside was a pendant, shaped like a star. He would have wanted you to have it, Mira said. Tom held the pendant in his hand. I don't know what to say. You don't need to say anything, Mira said. You already did enough. Tom nodded. Thank you. She left him alone in the room. Tom sat by the window, the star-shaped pendant in his hand. He had crashed on this world by accident. He had no plan, no future, no hope. But now, things were different. Lena was safe. Mira had found her daughter again, and Tom had found something he never expected, a place where he belonged. The city of Sarava was calm on the outside, but inside the palace, tension was rising again. After the short time of peace, dark news arrived. A scout ship returned with a message. Zark's remaining forces had gathered in the far north. They were not defeated yet. They were planning something bigger. Princess Mira stood in the war chamber with her advisors. A large map glowed on the table in front of them. Red marks showed enemy movement. They are planning to attack the city, Rollo said. Not just to take Lena. They want everything. They want to rule. Mira's face was serious. We must stop them before they reach the gates. One of the guards pointed to a narrow path near the mountains. This is the only way they can move quickly with machines. If we block it, we slow them down. Tom entered the chamber, walking slowly but steady. His wounds had healed enough for him to stand without help. Everyone turned to him. I heard the news, Tom said. Let me help. Mira walked over to him. You have done more than enough. Tom shook his head. This is not just your fight anymore. I live here now. I care about what happens. Rollo smiled. We could use your ideas again. Your traps worked last time. Tom looked at the map. Then let's make a plan they won't forget. They worked through the night. Tom suggested placing fire nets and hidden launchers in the mountain path. He showed them how to create noise traps that could make enemy machines turn on each other. The royal engineers listened and worked quickly. Meanwhile, Lena stayed in her room with two guards watching over her. She looked out the window at the rising moon, holding a small drawing in her hand. It was the one Tom had made for her back in the forest, the picture of them together under the stars. She folded the paper carefully and put it in her pocket. Then she stood and walked to the door. I want to help, she said to the guards. You must stay here, Princess, one guard replied. I'm not leaving the palace, she said. But I want to help prepare food for the soldiers. The guards looked at each other, then nodded. Lena went to the palace kitchen and spent the next few hours helping the cooks. She handed out fruit, bread, and warm drinks to every soldier she saw. Each one smiled and bowed to her. Her presence gave them strength. The next morning, Mira stood at the top of the city gate. Her army was ready. Tom stood beside Rollo near the mountain pass where they had set the traps. Then, in the distance, they heard it, the sound of engines, the sound of war. Zark's forces came fast. Their machines rolled over the land, tall and heavy. Soldiers in black armor marched behind them. Zark himself stood in a tall battle tower, his eyes burning with hate. Tom waited until they were close. Then he pressed the first trigger. A wall of fire shot up from the ground. The front line of enemy machines stopped, confused. Smoke filled the air. Alarms rang. Then the second trap went off. Fake signals made some of Zark's machines turn left and crash into each other. The rest tried to move forward, but the path was narrow and full of hidden spikes. Mira's soldiers charged from above the cliffs. Arrows and blasts rained down. Zark roared with anger. Find the girl, he shouted. Bring her to me. His fastest troops broke through the side and moved toward the city. Mira saw them and jumped onto a glider. She flew ahead and landed in front of the city gate, sword in hand. Tom saw the movement. They're trying to break through. Rollo nodded. We must hold them. They both ran down to the lower path and joined the fight. Tom used a long staff, striking from behind the soldiers. Rollo covered his side. Zark's troops were strong, but they didn't expect humans to fight like Tom. He moved fast, blocking attacks and guiding the defenders. Inside the city, Lena watched from the palace tower. She saw the smoke in the distance and heard the sounds of battle. Her hands tightened into fists. She ran down the steps to find Mira's assistant. I need to speak to the people, she said. The assistant was surprised but agreed. Lena stood on the main balcony, looking down at the city. Her voice was clear and full of fire. We will not be afraid, she said. We will stand together. I was lost before, but now I am home, and no one will take it from us again. The people cheered. Her words gave them courage. Back on the battlefield, Zark charged toward the city in his battle suit. It was large and made of black metal, with long arms that could crush walls. Tom saw him coming. He looked at Rollo. I'll stop him. Go help Mira. Rollo hesitated. You can't face him alone. I'm not alone, Tom said. As Zark approached the gate, Tom ran up the stairs of the outer wall. He grabbed a launcher and aimed it at the joints of Zark's machine. With a loud blast, The first shot hit its target, sparks flew. The second shot damaged the machine's leg. It stumbled. Zark growled and stepped out of the broken suit. He pulled out a sharp weapon and climbed. The wall. Tom dropped the launcher and faced him. You don't belong here, Zark hissed. Neither do you, Tom said. They fought hand to hand. Zark was strong, but Tom was quick. He used every move he had learned as a soldier. He blocked, dodged, and struck. The fight moved across the wall, each strike louder than the last. Finally, Zark slipped. Tom hit him hard in the chest. Zark fell off the wall and crashed to the ground below. Mira and her guards rushed to surround him. It's over, she said. Zark growled but said nothing. Tom stood at the top of the wall, breathing hard. Lena ran up to him and hugged him. You did it, she whispered. Tom held her close. We did it, he said. The sky above Scifi was clear again. Smoke from the battle had faded. The walls of the city stood strong. Soldiers walked the streets, tired but proud. People had returned to their homes. Shops had reopened. Children played in the gardens. The war was over. Zark, the enemy who had caused years of fear, now sat locked deep within the palace prison. His weapons were gone, and his voice held no power anymore. The people of Scifi were free. Tom stood on a tall balcony, watching the sunrise. The orange light touched the towers of the palace. Birds flew across the sky. He took a deep breath and felt calm, for the first time in a long while. He didn't feel like a soldier. He felt like a man who had found peace. Behind him, footsteps sounded. Lena ran toward him, her arms wide. Tom, she called out, come with me. He smiled and turned around. Where are we going this time? Mom is calling us to the garden, she said, grabbing his hand. It's important. Tom followed her through the marble halls. Guards smiled and bowed as they passed. Servants waved politely. Everyone in the palace now knew him. Some even called him Sir Tom with a proud voice. In the royal garden, Princess Mira stood under a tall tree. A gentle wind moved her long robe. Flowers bloomed all around her. Rollo stood nearby, his armor shining in the sun. Mira smiled when she saw Tom and Lena walking hand in hand. I was hoping you would come, Mira said. Tom bowed slightly. You asked for me. I asked for both of you, she said. Today is a day of peace. A day of new beginnings. Tom looked around. Servants were setting up a table nearby. Colorful flags waved from the trees. Fruits and drinks were prepared. Mira motioned for them to sit. Many years ago, she said, we lost someone very dear. My daughter, Lena, was taken from me. We searched every valley, every mountain, every sea, but we could not find her. She looked at her daughter with soft eyes. Now she is back, safe, happy, alive. And it was not because of an army, not because of a machine. It was because of one man who chose to do what was right. Mira turned to Tom. That man is you, Tom. Shifted in his seat. I only did what anyone should do. No, Mira said. Most would have walked away. You did not. She stood and picked up a small box. Inside it was a silver ring with a blue stone. This is a gift from our land, she said. It is worn by those who protect the royal family. Tom looked at it, unsure. I don't know if I deserve that. Lena took his hand and smiled. You do. Mira placed the ring in his palm. You're one of us now. Tom closed his hand. Round the ring. Thank you. Rollo stepped forward. There is one more thing to decide. The council asked if you would like to stay here. You are free to go if that is your wish. But Scifi would be honored to have you as one of its own. Tom looked at Lena. Her eyes were full of hope. Then he looked at Mira. She waited quietly, her expression calm and kind. Tom thought of Earth. He had no family left there, no one waiting for him. But here, he had found something new, a place where he mattered, a child who trusted him, a home that welcomed him. I will stay, he said. Lena cheered and hugged him tightly. Mira's eyes softened. Then you are no longer just a guest. You are part of this world. The day passed in joy. Music played. Dancers performed. Food was shared. People came to see the man who saved the princess. Children followed him through the garden. Lena stayed. Close to him, never letting go of his hand. Later that evening, as the sun began to set, Tom sat on a stone bench under the same tree where it had all started that morning. Lena rested beside him, her head on his shoulder. She had played all day and now looked sleepy. Mira joined them and sat across from him. "She feels safe with you," she said softly. "I feel safe with her," Tom replied. They watched the sky turn pink and orange. "This world is full of danger," Mira said, "but it is also full of beauty. You helped protect that beauty." Tom nodded. "I never planned to come here. I never planned to stay. But now, I can't imagine leaving." "You don't have to," Mira said. Rollo approached quietly and handed a small scroll to Tom. "What is this?" Tom asked. "Your citizenship," Rollo said with a smile. "It is official now." Tom laughed quietly. "That was fast. We move quickly when we find someone worth keeping," Mira said. Lena opened her eyes slowly. "Can I sleep near Tom's room tonight?" Mira nodded. "Of course." Tom picked her up gently and carried her through the halls. Servants bowed as he passed, not just out of respect, but with warmth. He was one of them now. He placed Lena in her bed and pulled the blanket over her. She looked up at him with tired eyes. "Good night," she whispered. "Good night, princess," Tom said. She reached for his hand. "You'll still be here when I wake up." He smiled. "I'm not going anywhere." She closed her eyes, still holding his hand. Tom sat by her side until her breathing slowed and she drifted into sleep. He stepped outside the room and looked out the window at the stars above Sarava. Once, those stars had been a path home. Now, they were simply the lights above his new world. He had come here by accident. He had stayed for a child. And now, he had found something even stronger than duty or survival. He had found a home.